Guys, I'm ready to fight today. I'm ready.
I have nothing
I'm ready
to fight on.
Fight on
I'm ready
what?
to fight.
Oh, this
Me and Brandon
Fella.
have been talking today, and he's saying some fighting words. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to fight.
On that note, let's get started. Why don't we?
Let's get it.
All right. Who? Me? Nate, you haven't said. You haven't done it in a
I
while.
haven't done it in a while. Yeah.
You got it.
Okay, ready?
No, I'm not ready yet.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
Doesn't make any sense. What are you doing?
This is, I swear this is Rage Bait, Carity. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Hike the White podcast. We're super excited to be back with you on this awful week of transfer portal. We are going to give you the laydown on all the rumors transfer portal has to offer for us. Of course, I'm always with my two handsome co-hosts, Brandon and Connor. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, let's go.
Doing so
Yeah,
good.
so
I the cricket. He tried. One day he'll have the cricket and the clap separated.
Yeah, I always do that. I'm always like,
is it
like-
really that hard? Which one's the?
well, I'm just not looking. It's just
The
in my
red,
peripheral. And they're both
Oh.
kind of like orange.
They're both like this. Yeah. Just go
anyways.
second from top. But anyway.
Okay, and
Yeah, dude. Here we are.
Yeah, so BYU officially now, as of April 9th at around 4 p.m., has 6 players in the transfer portal. Xavier Staten, Rob Wright, Dominique Diamande, Kennard Davis Jr., Tyler Morus, and KJ Perry are all in the transfer portal. That is not a guarantee that they will be leaving BYU, but it seems to be that BYU is going to have a huge turnaround on the basketball side next year.
Yeah, I just want to see if you guys agree with this. I think there are 3 main reasons why a player would transfer from their original school. So I want to just see if you guys agree with this. Maybe there's something else that you guys would also agree with. But the first one is the coach says you're not going to get any playing time. We think you'll be better off playing for the University of Idaho or somewhere else. You know what I'm
Dang,
saying?
if you're playing at like a higher level of school, though, that's kind of mean.
That's harsh right there.
Okay, San Diego State, I don't know. But like I feel like at some point they're like I love Tyler Morus and I love Xavier Staten, but I'm also like, yeah, you guys didn't really get a lot of playing time.
It
this
makes
season,
sense that they would transfer.
right? And so for them, they have all said Morus, Staten, and Dominic Diamande have all written letters saying, hey, I loved my time here at BYU, but I think it's time to move on. They posted it on their social media. So for me, I think this is a way for them saying, I will take any offer at this point. Like, I'm not getting paid that much at BYU. I would rather be playing the full season at San Diego State instead of playing like on the bench, maybe 6 games at BYU. What are your guys' thoughts about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's probably the number one thing, like, or, well, at least it used to be the number one thing. You don't want to, most people are, have you ever heard that question, like, would you rather be the best player on the worst team or the worst player on the best team? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people, like, including myself, probably would rather be the best player on the worst team because you're playing, you're doing what you love. And I mean, maybe that's wrong to say that because, of course, you want to like win championships and stuff. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's different at the NBA level. But I would want to play. I'd want to do my thing. And I think that's exactly what these guys are thinking. And I respect that. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think it has to go mostly with that, I think. Because if you're one of these players, you have the shot to play at the NBA. Every NBA team has so many different talent scouts searching for talent across all levels and across all divisions of the leagues and in every conference. If you play good, they'll find you. That goes with any professional sport. I think the talent scouts do a really good job, and they'll find that they're like, oh, he's a diamond in the rough. It's like, well, maybe he was, but the numbers are also insane of people at like mid-major conferences. Like you have to notice where they're coming from, like Steph Curry from Davidson, for example. So I think that's the biggest thing. But if you play ball and you're good, they'll find you and they'll put you in the league. So you want to get noticed. So I do think, in college, your team maybe is not the most cohesive thing. It's how because I mean, you look at what happened with AJ, where he went from the number 2 to the number 1 pick, like projected pick, based on his personal performance alone, even though BYU lost so many of their last half of of their games during the last half of the season. So I definitely think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're Morris right now, like he just came from the University of Idaho. I wonder if just going off of what Brandon said, I wonder if there's a part of, oh my goodness, BYU just made me an offer, or they want me to go sign on at BYU, and that's a big school. Maybe I'll be able to show myself. And then he plays the season here, and he's like, yeah, actually, I got like 40 minutes of playing time in a whole season. And I was a starter back in Idaho, and I was a phenomenal player, dropping 15 points against BYU. So I wonder if this season, I just want to say, I think these three players, specifically Morris, Staten, and Dominic Diamande, I think they're all going to go to a different school. And that's kind of why they posted a letter saying, hey guys, love you all. Like you can go on their Instagram, they've got it posted. And it's kind of just them like signing off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's the first reason. I think the second reason is that the player kind of wants to threaten the school a little bit. Like maybe, and this would be for like Rob Wright and KJ Perry. They're both two players that could stay at BYU. They could also go to like Michigan or Ohio. I think Rob Wright got one for Ohio State, you know. They could go to a Michigan State-esque school, go play at Ohio State or Auburn or another place that has a lot of money. But also at the same time, they'd be fine staying at BYU. And so they go into the transfer portal and Rob Wright's like, well, BYU just paid me another $1 million and I'll stay.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe threatening the school isn't the best way to put it. Because, like, you see Rob Wright, and Rob Wright's been getting a lot of hate from a lot of BYU fans. Like, here at the school, I've been talking to people, and they're like, oh, how could Rob Wright do this? After he was saying, like, he wanted to stay at BYU. But I get it. Like, he wants to make money, and it's just how college basketball is. He's going to be going to his third school in 3 years. And I don't think he's doing it because he hates BYU. I think he still loves BYU and would love to be here, but he just wants that bag.
He does.
It's when he's old and he doesn't even remember playing basketball anymore because he's got Alzheimer's or something. Anyway,
okay.
He's gonna have money.
I jumped a little bit. No, I mean I think that was the thing we talked about. I don't know if we talked about it on the pod, but I think us three have talked about that. This last starting five for BYU, the only one was Richie Saunders that had that connection to BYU.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that his jersey went into the time capsule yesterday and not anybody else's, because he's a true blue Coug, where everybody else maybe, you know, it's not personal, but it is unfortunately becoming business in college basketball and in college athletics in general. And so it's not that they don't like it here. It's not they don't like the atmosphere. It could be like, sadly, that some people that transfer don't have as positive experience at other places compared to BYU. But unfortunately for their good and them trying to progress on a personal level in professional sports, it just happens. It's just part of the game nowadays, and now it's just up to Kevin Young and the rest of the staff to adapt and see what can happen. Because if people are leaving, then that means there's spots for people to come here. Like we're talking Carlin Chandler, and we got like there's a farther out there rumors about like Flory Badunga that would be a really awesome get for BYU to get the big man from Kansas, but there's a lot that's going into it. But now it's Kevin Young and the staff's job to see, okay, who's going to be gone and who's going to be here. You have to look at it as a business, and I love that BYU has Kevin Young here because he did this at Phoenix for years and in the NBA. So this is nothing completely new to him. It's just a lot of people for us that we thought would stay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what hurts the most, because a lot of people, even a couple weeks ago, were saying, okay, at least we're going to have Rob, KJ, and like a bunch of other players. And now the people, like everyone thought we were going to keep Rob, because just a couple of weeks ago he was saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to stay with BYU. Like if I'm going to be playing in college, it's going to be wearing BYU's jersey, right? And so he kind of said in effect that unless he was going to the NBA, he'd be playing here at BYU. But maybe things have changed. That's why I kind of think that with Rob Wright, he's kind of using this as a way to like get more money.
Do you think Rob is going to come back to BYU?
I think he's going to add $1 to $2 million on top of his NIL contract, and he's going to stay at BYU. And I think that's just because he's threatening right now in the portal, saying, okay.
Do you think that really would work, though?
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're going to ask BYU for a certain amount of money and they're going to say no, are they really going to give him an extra $1 million? Like, I know it works, like, in
what about
in
Kalani
business and
Sitake?
stuff like that, but Really? Does that work?
I think
Kalani
Kalani.
Sitake didn't
That was a
ever
completely
enter the
different-
transfer portal for head coaches.
Yeah, but like in a way, Kalani Sitake was saying, you know what, I'm going to go to a different school. Allegedly, like that's just the rumors. I might be going to
when
Penn
did he
State.
say that?
Well, he didn't say it himself. Rob Wright hasn't said himself that he's going to be
He
leaving.
entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean,
Kalani
he's just
Sitake
looking.
never left BYU.
Yeah,
He
but
never said he was going to leave.
he
BYU.
went and visited Penn State, and so like he left BYU. He went to Penn State. He was checking things out. We have no idea what was going on. But do you know what happened? People on social media started reaching out and paying him money. Not really, but like Crumble added more money. Like the CEO of Crumble gave more money to BYU so they could keep Kalani Sitake.
Yeah, the big difference here is that's a football coach, not a basketball player, and that's where it's the big difference. Where there's still right now there's still more money to be had in football than basketball, both in contracts for coaches and NIL deals for players. And it's a player, not a coach.
Yeah,
Or it's a coach, not a player. So the deal is for 9 years. Max Rob is only going to get 3, and it's not going to be. He's not going to get as much leverage by entering the transfer portal.
Yeah,
that way.
I just verified because I was pretty. Kalani Sitake also never went to Penn State. Penn State
really?
came to him. They came
No,
here.
like he visited Penn State's campus.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of BYU football season. He did not go and visit Penn State campus. Penn State people came to Utah and talked to him.
My life is a lie. I swear. I swear he left. Am I tripping? Hold on.
I think so.
I'm pretty sure. I looked it up, and I think it's true that he never went. I mean, it makes sense. He was in the middle of, was it conference championship
Yeah,
week?
yeah.
Yeah, that's why Penn
Or
State could come
whatever.
to him because Penn State's season was over.
Yeah, and
But
so
anyway,
I don't know.
Really? Okay,
it's
I
just
just
completely
blasphemed.
different.
I blasphemed.
not even-
Okay, well, but I mean, I'm just saying it still stands. I still think Rob Wright could potentially add $2 million to his contract.
But would
and
BYU
stay.
really do that? Like, it's like, have you seen the games where it's like you got to build your best possible quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
You have $5 for
Yeah.
you're early, like you have $15 total,
$15
and
and you've
each
got 5,
and each
4, 3,
thing
2,
is
1.
5, 4, 3, 2,
Yeah.
1. It's like you can pick, have the strongest arm, and have the best mobility, and have what's another one? Have the best IQ. But if you have no passing accuracy and you have no whatever else you need, like you're still gonna not be a good quarterback. And that's the same for this BYU team. We can't just play all our money to one guy. Look at how it worked out this season. Without Richie Saunders, AJ DeBonsa is still the best player in the nation.
That's true.
If he doesn't have enough supporting cast, it's not going to work. So I think BYU, what they're going to do, they're going to use it smartly. BYU has more NIL money to spend than most teams in the country. They're going to still build a good team. I really hope Rob comes back, but I just don't see why he would enter the transfer portal.
and stay.
If he
And
wasn't
stay.
gonna, yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any reason like you wouldn't come back after doing that.
And we saw it. We saw it with Richie Saunders and Dallin Hall a couple years ago, but that was after Mark Pope left. And once they hired Kevin Young, BYU did. Richie Saunders and Dallin Hall were like, okay, yeah, I was just giving myself an opportunity to move if that was the right option, but I know BYU is the place to stay.
Okay.
And it's not like a huge turnover here. So
Yeah. Right now with Rob Wright, I think he's got 20 plus teams that have offered him. The biggest names are Temple, Syracuse, Miami, Louisville. Like, there's not a lot of big names, right?
those are like the technical offers though. Like I'm sure Rob Wright is talking.
Oh, yeah,
with
I'm
other
sure he's
teams
talking.
that
And then
are much higher.
KJ Perry, he's also the 5 teams that have offered are NC State, Oregon, SMU, USC, and of course BYU. And so, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be pretty tricky coming in the next 2 weeks to see who stays for BYU. Or I'm hoping like Boop doesn't leave us too, and just like everybody leaves us. That would be.
Hey,
quite
we do
unfortunate.
have inside source intel that Alexi Kostic will likely stay.
Hopefully,
Nate?
is the
Sources confirmed, yeah,
sources
that
confirmed.
he may stay.
Yes, comma, hopefully.
Yep.
That is what Alexi, I can't say that, allegedly said. But here's an interesting one. I don't know if you guys know Colby Garland from San Jose State, I believe. He is currently in discussion with BYU of of potentially coming here. And another one is Colin Chandler, who has offers from Utah, Oregon, Arizona, Stanford, and staying with Kentucky.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Colin Chandler is he was initially committed to BYU. Came off his mission. Mark Pope was gone, so he was like, I'll go to Kentucky, be with Mark Pope. And now I think he's finally seen the light. I think he's finally understanding BYU is the place to be. So hopefully he comes.
The Utah
it's
native.
pretty likely.
The Utah native.
From Farmington.
Tim View, I think that's where he played high school. Was
Farmington.
It Farmington. Oh, he actually played on Farmington.
Yeah, actually played at Farmington.
Damn.
Unlike anybody else in Farmington.
Dang, catch a
Sorry, I got to throw the shade. I mean, I knew a lot of dudes that lived up north of Salt Lake, but would play football south of Salt Lake in like Lone Peak or Corner Canyon because their aunt, quote unquote, aunt lived there or something like that.
Yeah, I do want to bring up this interesting fact. You guys remember Marcus Adams Jr. for BYU? If you don't, it makes sense. Because
I don't.
You're probably
we were on our missions.
On your missions. He played one game for BYU. I can still remember. I was super excited. And he is entering the transfer portal to go to his 5th team.
Really?
Right now. Yep. He initially was committed to Gonzaga. He left and went to BYU. Then he went to wow, now I'm losing it. He went to some California team, I think North.
What is it? California State or something? Cal State, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Then after that season, he went to Arizona State, where he didn't do much, and now he is once again entering the transfer portal.
Really?
What is your guys' opinion on that? Because I don't really like it. How are you developing as a player, as a person? Like, how are you making relationships that last? And I'm not trying to hate on Marcus Adams Jr. Obviously, he's trying to do what's best for himself.
Oh, yeah, he's just one of many examples,
But,
though.
yeah, like, is this really something that works?
I think one prime example that's pretty recent on my mind was a couple weeks ago, Jimmer Fredette raised his jersey into the rafters here at BYU. And I think we're going to get to the point in the next couple of years, I'd say the next 20, 30 years, maybe if not sooner, that players are just going to be hopping around each season, and it's going to be, okay, who's the best at recruiting in the postseason, right? Who's got the most potential? Who can convince the most, the best collective group of basketball players in the transfer portal to come play at their school? Because I just don't see a future where people are going to be staying at one college for 4 years. I think I'd rather have AJ DeBonsa play one season here and go to the NBA than him playing one season here.
Imagine if AJ came back, but he didn't come back to BYU.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
That
sad.
would be
depressing.
worse. I'd rather have AJ play 1 year at BYU and then go play for the Sacramento Kings than play here and then go transfer to Michigan. Like I'd rather have that. I'm not a big fan of the transfer portal, and that's just because it's been hitting BYU pretty hard. And I've kind of realized, I was like, oh my goodness, our whole team is cooked.
And I think this is like the first time I think that BYU's really had
A hit.
this many players. Because last season, BYU had a decent amount of guys come back. And like,
Yeah.
I don't think we really had any high-level guys enter the transfer portal, if I'm remembering that correctly. But this year, it's like boom, 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 one after the other. It's like a string of dominoes just going off. Everyone's leaving.
You check at Instagram and there's a new person leaving the team, and you're like, oh my goodness.
Every time, yeah.
It's not a surprise anymore.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I think the effects of it are easier to see this early because the transfer portal rules only changed a couple years ago to this like immediate, like you transfer and you're eligible that next season. And so I think it's been a lot more noticeable in college basketball than it has been in college football because of the 5-on-5. So like how many starters BYU has lost, the remaining starters to the transfer portal that were not graduating already, or AJ going to the draft. So it's a lot. You feel it a lot more. The effects are a lot more easy to spot. But in like football, there's still people moving around, but it's just there's less loyalty toward a school or a brand of team, and more like it's becoming more selfish. And it's kind of like feels like there's like been a paradigm shift in who has the power over, like who has the power in college athletics. Like the athletic directors are kind of in some ways at the mercy of these, both like the recruits that are out of high school and the recruits in the transfer portal. Like it's a completely different game than it was even 2 years ago. like in the football world, I mentioned it before we hit record that Matt Leinart, they asked, USC approached him, great quarterback from USC, Heisman winner, national champion. They asked him if he would be willing to unretire his number so they can give it to a recruit. And that's just, that's not how things are done. Obviously, it's like in the BYU lens, it's like, all right, hey, Steve Young, right? You wore number 8 for 3 years. You took us farther than we had been at that time. We 11-1 season your senior year, and then set us up to win the national championship the next year.
Yeah.
Then you went on to being a great NFL quarterback. We retired your number, but we have this recruit that's really, really good, but he wants to wear your number, and he only wants to come here if he can get your number. What do you say we take it down? I would be like, heck no. That sounds terrible. So like, it's just unthinkable that's like, it feels like the athletic directors are like bending over backwards for these recruits in a way that's not meant to happen. This isn't college football. The professionals is when you do that. You can demand stuff like that through an agent, but there's a level of entitlement there's never been in college athletics before because of stuff like NIL and the transfer portal that needs to be metered and monitored somehow.
Yeah, you don't see guys who are like growing up and wanting to go to a single school for forever. I read this book. It was about the Christian Laettner, whatever, however you say it. His shot in the Elite Eight, Duke versus Kentucky.
Yep.
And it was just this entire book about how the Duke and Kentucky teams were assembled and like what they went through that entire year. And it was an amazing book. But it was like all of the guys were like, oh, I grew up and this is where I've wanted to go for my entire life. And you just don't see that in college sports anymore. And I hate it. I don't mention my dad a lot on this podcast because he's not a really big sports guy. But I've had so many arguments with my dad about like BYU identity because it's just not the same anymore. Like you look at the basketball team and a bunch of the members aren't members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is BYU's official church.
Affiliated church.
Yeah,
that
affiliated
represent.
church of the school. And that is totally fine. It's 100% okay to not be a member of that church, but it really isn't BYU's identity, And so, I don't know. I feel like it does make it a little bit harder to be loyal, a little bit harder to watch, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
It also kind of pulls away from rivalries, The BYU-Utah rivalry was so impactful this year for 2 players on the BYU basketball team. And that's just because they've had previous ties. One of them was from Utah, who was like, I hate Utah because I was born and raised in Riverton. We all know that's Richie Saunders. Well, I don't know if he's born and raised, but that's where he's like from, Riverton, right? And then you have like a transfer from Utah, Caleb Keita,
From Utah, yeah.
who transferred from Utah, played at BYU. That rivalry right there. But other than that, AJ DeMonza, no idea.
Yeah, he was
Tyler
like,
Morris.
I had no idea.
He's
I didn't realize it was such a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the fans, it's such a big deal because, like for me, I grew up in Utah. I grew up watching BYU in Utah, and now all these players, it used to be like, yeah, BYU, Utah, all this hate.
And you'd have guys that were there for 4 years. They'd clash every year, and you'd be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, now it's like, oh yeah, so we have Utah on the schedule, whatever, and we have people waiting outside of the LaVelle Edwards Stadium for days, camping out, waiting, right? And now it's just like, oh wait, this is a big deal. I had no idea. So, yeah, sorry, I don't know if I had that one up for. That might be a little.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not a big deal, but it's definitely.
No, that's what the players are saying.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
players.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't feel the same. And we could complain about the transfer portal all we want. Do you guys think it's ever going to change? Like in however many years, let's say 10 years, and it's like gotten to where almost every player is transferring after every season.
Yearly?
Which I don't think is going to happen, but it could get bad. Do you think the NCAA is going to be like, you know what? Like, we made a mistake. This is ruining the sport. Are they going to change it?
I bet they could. It's kind of like what the NBA is doing with they have like an anti-tanking solution, like because a bunch of teams are tanking, and they're going to come up with a solution. We don't know when that's going to be in place.
I don't think it's going to work.
Right? You don't think it's going to work?
And they're going to have to do something like that, like literally
Severe?
random. Everything is random.
Well, I mean, they could potentially come up with something, and they could work on it. And I bet that same thing's going to happen with the NCAA. They're going to work on it, and they're going to work on it for years and years. I just think the thing that's going to change is the players, kind of the culture of transferring. I think the players have to start with themselves and be like, you know what, this is more about loyalty and trying to make it into the NBA rather than making a bunch of money in college.
Well, but I mean, like, if you're in their shoes, like, let's say I'm Tyler Moroz. I go to Idaho, I pop off, I'm like, okay, I'm transferring. I'm going to BYU because I'm going to lock in. And then I just don't get minutes, and I know I'm not going to get minutes the next year. And then I'm transferring again.
Makes sense.
If you think about it, it's not bad. But like from the outside view, you're like, oh, you're transferring again. Like this is what's ruined our sport. You're such a horrible person. And I do not feel that way about Tyler Moroz, by the way.
Yeah, no.
But like,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's just you can't feel both sides.
No, yeah, I definitely think that this is like NIL and transfer portal definitely go like hand in hand. I think the transfer portal it's more sustainable of a practice because it's something that we just don't like, but there's not like any reason why it can't keep happening. But NIL, basically, one day I think that some schools are going to start running out of money. Some athletic programs are not as well put together as BYU's, to the point where they can maintain this level of spending, both on NIL and both trying to like with their head coaching deals or whatever, especially in the realm of football. But across the entire athletic department, I don't think the NIL is as sustainable as people think. Where like athletic directors have been quoted saying like, I don't know where this money's coming from, or like athletic officials. So I don't know if that's as sustainable a practice. And if that can't happen, then I think the transfer portal is going to change because people won't be able to use the portal as a way to leverage for more money if the NIL is not going to stay for forever.
Well, especially if you're a team like Kentucky, they're spending so much money and they're not really winning any big tournaments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's not the results there.
And so, guys, please fact check me because I might be wrong again. But if you win a tournament, you get money for your organization and for the Big 12, right?
For the conference,
or for the
and
conference
for
that you're in.
school.
That's correct, right?
I want to say revenue from
Not completely
your
sure.
conference, yes, but your school, I'm not sure. Probably a lesser.
I know,
amount,
like
I'd
tournaments
imagine.
like the college basketball crown, you win money for your school.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Like,
I'm
that's
not
money
sure
for the
about
school.
all
you
tournaments.
win money for the conference at least.
But like, let's say Kentucky this year won March Madness. Would they be breaking even with how much money they spent on their players?
No,
You're not getting that much.
Most schools don't, to be honest.
Exactly. And so there's going to be so many teams, especially if you're a team like Kentucky who's losing in the round of 32, who they're spending so much money and then they're making it to the round of 32.
Yeah.
That's just negative money at that point.
You're losing
You're
money.
losing money.
Most athletic departments are not in the positive. They're in the negative. They're in the red or the black of in terms of that economic shift. But BYU is not. BYU doesn't do anything unless it can keep itself economically sustainable. So
Hence
BYU
being
is
a
going to be
private
okay.
school, yeah.
And we've been doing it, like independence was probably the best thing for our football program because we were doing everything we were doing and having success with a third or a fourth of what the Power Five was doing it with. But now we have that same amount of money and we are ready to go. We're ready to use it in a sustainable, responsible way that other schools just, they can't really. They don't want to admit it really, but nobody can use it as well as BYU can, arguably.
Yeah. I wonder if it turns into who runs out of money first.
Yeah, and you're also like taking it away from other things you could do with the school, like improving academic programs, and that might make other students not want to go there as much. I don't know, like you see Georgetown, and this is different, but Georgetown was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Like just 15 years ago. Now, no one wants to go to Georgetown. BYU does not want
Play basketball now.
It's a laughing
BYU, like
stock.
that could happen to BYU, and we obviously we don't want to see it happen. But like teams need to be careful about what they're doing with their money.
Ooh, that's interesting. Oh my
True.
goodness.
There's a lot of effects I don't think we can. It's been on my mind because I had to write 2 different papers for it. One was like informative. One was like a research argumentative type thing. So I've been thinking about it a lot for school, but it's been fun. It's fun to think about, but it's also really interesting because it's kind of scary. Like there's some things that just aren't known, and so there's a lot to still be discovered. And you can't really discover it with trends. Really, the only way to discover it is like trial and error, like to see what athletic directors actually do. You can't. You can study the hypotheticals, but you can't. You won't know what will happen until it actually does.
Yeah. You know, this is kind of a fun experiment because I was reading an ESPN article this morning in preparation for this podcast, and it says just below 50% of eligible basketball players for the NCAA are in the transfer portal right now.
And it's probably
crazy.
risen too. Like
That's
Oh,
this
yeah,
is
I'm
insane.
sure. And so I wonder if it gets to the point where there's so many people who are in the transfer portal, so many athletes who think that they could get better deals with other colleges, maybe they don't care about the college, they just want the NIL money, whatever. I wonder if it gets to the point where there's so many people who are like, yeah, I want this, and this, and the schools just can't pay for it, and so the players are just gonna have to start asking less, and only the top recruits like I could see Rob Wright, I could see his offer being evergreen at any school. I could see a school, if they have room for Rob Wright, they'll be like, oh, actually, I low-key want to have Rob Wright on my team because he's a great player, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but like if you're Tyler Morris, Dominic Diomande, it's like, well,
it's true.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't know.
Because I think you still need like role players and stuff.
You do,
and I don't think Tyler Morris is gonna be like, okay, I'm going to Michigan. Okay, I'm going to Kentucky. I don't think he's like that. He's probably thinking some other school that is probably not as good, but he can get minutes. I think those schools will pay him. But I do think, like, I don't know. I think schools are going to go into their budget, go over their budget, all that stuff just to get players. And in 20 years, I think college athletics could just start degrading. Like, we're just not going to have enough money. Like, we're going to be spending money on players instead of other stuff. I don't know. I hope that never happens.
Who fixes it? Is it the NCAA? Is it
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump
Potentially?
With his executive order
I don't know.
He's signing?
Could be. I have no idea.
Does someone who understands that a little bit more than me want to explain the executive order?
I can.
Let me pull
try.
up. Let me just pull up the. Okay, so right now, President Trump, he's working with. I don't know if he's. From what I understand, as of 2 days ago, like the process is going on. He's verbally said that he wants to sign it, and so he's kind of like signing it right now. It's like an executive order, but I think Connor was saying something earlier that technically him signing an executive order doesn't mean the NCAA has to follow. What were you saying about that?
Yeah, I think somebody else needs to maybe look at this and comment on the podcast if you know more than us, because I'm politically very unlettered in the way of like politics and how executive orders work. But like the way that it is that given where the NCAA is, like, it relies on some volunteer work, and it's an organization classified in a way that like the executive order doesn't necessarily change anything by itself. So the executive order will not provide like full healing. It can be a good start, but Trump tried to make it an all-encompassing thing, and it just doesn't really look like it's going to be able to do that. And that's like about as far as I know. Where he wanted to like save it and moderate some things, but that's not. It kind of seemed vague to me. Like he tried to make it broad, and it just kind of didn't. The NCAA, like already athletic directors have been saying, like they were not probably gonna. It was never gonna really have much effect by itself.
Mm-hmm. Here's some of like the main points that he said. There would be player protections, so it would ensure medical care for student athletes, and it would protect some other parts. NIL, it would prohibit fraudulent NIL schemes or pay-for-play deals where an athlete may be paid for above market value, and it's establishing restrictions against agents who kind of want to scam the people that they want to work for. Also, student athletes would receive one free transfer with immediate playing eligibility during a 5-year window. And a second transfer can be permitted only once an athlete obtains a 4-year degree. And then there's a 5-year eligibility window with exceptions to military service. And then pro athletes can't return to college athletics.
What about like church service?
Yeah, it doesn't mention that. All it says is military and other absences for public service.
That would probably constitute violation.
It could. But it would give athletes a 5-year window where it's like, okay, you got to play in these 5 years. Because an NCAA, I forgot who the team was, but there's a team in March Madness where they had a year 7 player who he had just been injured many times.
And
it's like, okay, year 7, dude, you're like 40 years old. Why are you playing college basketball? You're playing for a 14 team
like
seed.
Those guys that like are older than like NBA rookies.
I kind of want to say it's
Baylor.
I think it was Baylor, low key. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that, but
I don't remember.
Goodness gracious.
TBH.
So I mean, we don't mean to like make this a political podcast. We're not saying that we're promoting Trump or anything, but that is what he wants to sign, and it could go into effect if the legal things work. You know,
Yeah, I
He
don't
says,
know.
"Oh,
It does feel like it kind of goes against other legal things with NIL. But I don't know. I like it like on a just watching college basketball note. But then again, when I think like about players who are just doing their best to promote themselves and be in their best situation, it just feels harsh. Because like players like Tyler Morris would be stuck at BYU, and that's not a bad thing, and he'd still get minutes, but he's not going to get as many minutes somewhere else. He's not going to be able to show his skills off somewhere as well as somewhere else. But then again, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if a guy wants to transfer after 1 year because they're like, you know what, I'm not getting playing time. If instead they stay, they develop more under the program, and then they start and they're getting the minutes that they want, they're having as much success as they wanted, like who knows? Who knows what's really best for a guy? But yeah, lots of controversy, lots of different opinions, and I don't know. I kind of wish we could just go back to a simpler time when you could confidently say, "Oh yeah, I'm hyped about next season, and I know who our starting five is going to be, at least
that'd be nice.
pretty closely."
Well, think about this. If we didn't have to worry about AJ going to the NBA and people like leaving early, let's say for the next 4 years, this is our starting lineup. Potentially Rob Wright, AJ DeBonsa, Bruce Branch, Ruckert,
Dean Ruckert.
We've also got Abdullah Ahmed.
Got Boop if he can develop
Boop.
offensively.
Boop.
Kostic. Like there's so many, like Nate Pickens.
Yeah.
And KJ Perry. Like that's a stacked lineup right there. And that for the next 3 years, maybe less, until they graduate, I'd be like, oh my goodness, BYU basketball is going to be so stacked. But now it's just like my confidence going into next season is really, really low. And it's going to be really low until the transfer portal closes and we have a bunch of good steals and also good keeps.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I just think Auburn's a perfect example. They go to the Final Four, and then the next year they don't make the tournament. Yeah. And I think we're just going to see
that kind of
that.
stuff hasn't really happened.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
They at least make
like,
the tournament.
It's just crazy. I don't know.
There's a lot going on. I think something needs to change, but I think it also is like there's not necessarily a big enough sample size to determine exactly what. And like the people that are in charge of making these decisions are not unified yet. So it's tough to see any change happening in the recent future. But I do think long term it will change.
And it's pretty interesting how it happens here in college. Because in the NBA, you sign a contract and it's for a certain amount of years.
Yeah.
In college, you don't have that. So it's like, oh, we signed LeBron James for the next 4 years, or we've got Antetokounmpo staying for the next 2-3 years, and they signed a contract and they put their signature on the paper, and they're going to stay here no matter what. In college, it's just a free for all. So I wonder if that someday becomes the solution where we need to have actual contracts signed. Okay, if you're going to come play for BYU, you're going to play here for 2 years, right? So Dean Ruckert, sign your name right here at the bottom. You've got the next 3 years at BYU, next 4 years at BYU, or maybe the next 2 years, right? Half of their eligibility, something like that.
That could
might
be
have to
interesting.
put in
Like,
place.
I feel like that could be a potential solution. You get one transfer, and then you have to stay at the next place for at least 2 years.
Or
that could be interesting.
Or you get fined a decent amount for not being
but
penalized.
I don't know if I feel like that would cater to the best athletes, because the best athletes would be like, you know what,
I'll pay the fine.
I'll pay the fine. Not worst athletes, but athletes who aren't as good, like that's a huge impact on them.
Yeah.
No, there's a big thing is like the gap year that they used to have, right? Like you transfer, you have to wait a year. That kind of thing it would be a good punishment too. I think that could solve something, but there's a lot to be seen still.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a good discussion on this transfer portal.
I feel like this was kind of like a debate podcast. Remember when we had debate part one? I feel like this is debate number 2.
I wouldn't say it was a debate.
It was a really soft debate if it was a debate.
What did we disagree on?
I forgot why I mentioned Kalani Sitake, but no.
It's a transfer. That'd be funny if coaches had a transfer portal.
Yeah.
Just throw
That'd be
the-
awful. That'd be awful, though. I feel like
Transfer portal is enough of a headache with players. Let's not add coaches.
Could
to
you
that.
eventually trade college athletes?
Ooh.
I hope it doesn't come to that point.
I'd hope not.
I don't think you can. Like you're
No.
Or,
But if you're
there's a
trade-
draft to get into college. All the high school players, there's like a draft, and they have a draft night.
No, that'd be crazy.
that would be wild. But like we're starting to treat college athletes like professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
So
think if
could
you're
you
going to do that, to Nate's
eventually-
point, I think a contract could be a good thing. If you're going to treat them like professionals, at least treat them like true professionals. Don't just leave them hanging out to dry.
We can't do half and half. It just
Go
it's
all
already
in or
showing that
nothing,
It doesn't
yeah.
work.
Anyway, we'll see what happens.
Anyways, thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. I hope you guys learned some new things about the transfer portal.
Fact check us if we're wrong on anything.
Yeah, I'm definitely wrong about Kalani Sataki. I kind of want to take it out of the podcast, but I've mentioned it too many times. I don't
You won't be
care.
able to find the points to edit
I don't care. I'm not saving face. Shout out to my brother Jacob who listens to the podcast. Guys, got any shout outs? Listen to the podcast.
Shout out my parents. They always listen.
Yeah, shout out to if you've listened to the podcast this far, drop a comment. What's going on? Like, how's it going? Like, how's life? Anyways, also follow us on YouTube and Instagram, Hike the Y, and now we have Apple Podcasts. So
if
if you're
Spotify is tough for you, opening the
Yeah.
app it like loads
Podcast,
for
baby.
forever.
Yeah.
Apple Podcasts.
and Amazon
yeah.
Podcasts. If you have Amazon Prime,
Let's go.
So
I don't know if you have Audible though. I don't know if it's on there because I've tried looking it
We're
up.
working on it. We're working on that part of it.
give us some love, guys.
Just trust.
And if you guys want us to debate something else, give us some
Give us a
controversial.
topic,
Give us
yeah.
some controversial stuff. Yeah, that's.
Oh wait,
basically
it is on there. I found it.
Let's go.
We're
Hike
on
the
Audible,
Y.
baby.
No, wait, we have no ratings from Audible. So
Get
So
your
give
friends
us a
on
rating.
Audible.
get the first rating on Audible.
And guys, also, it would mean a lot if you shared the podcast with people, because like if you actually enjoyed the content that you're listening to, share it with some people. Be like, "Ayo,
This is how we're gonna get
Sure.
our viewership down in the last 2 minutes.
yeah."
These, if you're still listening to
Self
this,
advertisements.
that is impressive.
Yeah, if you're still
I would not be.
You're
if
a
you-
real one.
If you've listened this far, we've broken all the rules that we've learned in our podcasting class. All of the rules out the window.
The shout outs.
Shout out to our class. What class is it? Storytelling
Storytelling.
with Othello Richards.
storytelling.
Guess what? He was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Listen to Othello
Listen
Richards.
to that one. You dropped some knowledge.
Yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Let's get a Go Dogs. Sick 'em.
Sick 'em. That's possibly the longest outro.
Let's see if we can have a 10-minute outro.